But our next act, Act 2, is called Out and About. It's about little things that happen in our little town or our little community here. And that reminds me of what it used to be like when we were kids. I'd like to be a kid again, to go back to a time when decisions were made by going eeny, meeny, miny, moe. And mistakes were corrected as easy as saying, it's a do-over. Race issue meant you wanted to know who ran the fastest. Money issues were handled by whoever was the banker in Monopoly. And catching fireflies could fill an entire evening. Simpler times. Speaking of simpler times, flower problems.
Well, hi, Landy. How you
Hey,
doing?
Don. Good to see you. I'm doing pretty good. Had a good warm summer. Good trip back to Golden Vista. How about yourself?
Oh, things are going really well with me. In fact, life's been good since I retired and moved here. And, you know, there's one small problem. It's kind of personal that I probably should tell you about, being you're such a good, close friend.
Gee, Don, that sounds serious. What's going on?
Well, my wife was talking to your wife yesterday, and your wife said that you don't buy her flowers. Is that true?
Oh, Don, I didn't know she sold flowers.
Maybe I should have said simpler people. No sentence ever ends well when it starts with my wife was talking to your wife. I'm just going to let you know. Speaking of simpler times, remember when the worst thing you could catch from the opposite sex was cooties? And it was magic when Dad could remove his thumb in front of all your friends. It was unbelievable to us that dodgeball was not an Olympic event. And having a weapon at school meant you got caught with your slingshot. And no one was prettier than Mom. Speaking of Mom, goodbye, Mom. A young man was shopping in a supermarket, notices a little old lady following him. If he stops, she stops. Furthermore, she keeps staring at him, and she follows him all the way to the checkout.
I hope I haven't made you feel ill at ease, but you look so much like my late son.
Oh, that's terrible. I'm sorry for you, Ross. But that's all right.
It's okay. Well, I know this sounds silly, but could you holler out, "Goodbye, Mom," when I leave the store?
Yes, I can, yes. I'd be happy to.
Thank you, makes
Please,
me
go
happy.
right ahead of me.
Goodbye, Mom. The little old lady
Bye, Mom.
waves and smiles at him, pleased that he has brought joy to the old lady. The young man goes to pay for his groceries.
That comes to $121.85.
What? I had 5 items. How could it be that much?
Yes, but your mother said you'd be paying for her things too.
My mom.
Such a good son.
The last of our good old times. You used to want to spin around, get dizzy, and fall down. Back when we were young, it caused us to giggle. The worst embarrassment was getting picked last for a team. War was a card game. Water balloons were the ultimate weapon. And baseball cards and the spokes transformed any bike into a motorcycle. Reality can be a funny thing. Reality.
Hey,
Yeah, what?
hey baby,
Yeah.
do you think I got fat during the quarantine?
Well, I don't want to be the pot calling the kettle black, but you really weren't too skinny to begin with.
You son of a...
There's a fine line between stupid and brave. Fred Skelton had a lot of things to say about marriage. I'll share a couple. He always wanted to remind us marriage is the #1 cause of divorce. And he said he married Miss Right. He just wasn't aware her first name was Always. But sometimes women are right, as you'll see in our next act, the hotel bill.
Oh, good morning.
You know, I know that this hotel is really nice and everything, and I know that it has everything that anybody could want, but $275 a night is outrageous. I didn't even have breakfast.
Well, you know, $275 is our standard rate, and it includes breakfast for those people who choose to take advantage of it.
But I didn't have breakfast. You know what? I refuse to pay this bill, and I demand to see the manager.
Okay. Mr. Blister? Yes, we have a customer here who's very upset, and she insists upon seeing you. I'll tell her you'll be right down.
Good,
You'll be right down.
good, good.
Hello, ma'am. May I help you?
You certainly may. This bill for one overnight stay for $275 is ridiculous.
May I see your bill? Well, looking at this bill, it looks like it's our standard rate, ma'am. Well, we have so many things for you. You know, we've got full-time concierge on hand. We got room service, 24-hour breakfast. We have hot tubs, swimming pools.
But I didn't use any of them.
But they were there for you, for your convenience, ma'am.
Well, I still refuse to pay this bill.
Well, we had so many services for you. I mean, anything you could possibly want from us. Everything. And then, nevertheless, it was always available to you.
I didn't go swimming. I didn't go to the exercise room. All I did was sleep one night in this hotel, and you charged me $275.
Well, I think it's a very reasonable rate for all the things we offer, and I have to insist that you settle your account.
Well, all right. I guess if I have to, I don't want to go to jail or anything like that.
What's happened?
There.
Thank you. Ma'am, this check is for $75. The bill is $275.
Well, that's correct. I charged you $200 for sleeping with me.
I didn't sleep with you.
Well, I was here, and you could have.
I'm supposed to write down all the names of people who laughed when Marie said she didn't go to the exercise room. So Fred Skelton had a couple other things he had to say about his wife, and they would never be true of my wife. Let me just clarify that. She's backstage. He said, I haven't spoken to my wife in 18 months. I don't like to interrupt her. But he admitted the last fight they had was his fault. His wife asked him what's on TV, and he said, dust. Speaking of women, women talk a lot. That's what it says.
Say, honey, I read in the Arizona Republic this morning that the average woman speaks 30,000 words a day to a man's 15,000. But of course, you are way above average.
That's because women have to say twice as much when we talk to a man.
Don't encourage her. Well, here's what happened a couple weeks ago. Two little old ladies are sitting on a park bench outside the local town hall here, and a flower show was in progress, and one leaned over and said to her friend, "Life is so damn boring, we never have any fun anymore." She said, "For $5, I'll take my clothes off and I'll streak through that stupid flower show." "You're on," her friend said, holding up a $5 bill. So the first little old lady slowly fumbled her way out of her clothes and completely nude streaked, as fast as an old lady can, through the front door of the flower show. Waiting outside, her friend soon heard a huge commotion inside in the hall, and it was followed by loud applause and shrill whistling. The naked and smiling old lady came through the exit door, surrounded by a cheering crowd. "What happened?" said her waiting friend. "I won first prize for best dried arrangement." She stole the show, and speaking of stealing, Bank Heist is next.
All right, there's a robbery. Fill this bag up and all the money you got. Oh, you saw me. Bang! Oh, you saw me too. Bang! Anybody else see me?
I think my wife might have caught a glimpse.
Are you
Due to a power outage, paramedics were very busy and only one was allowed to respond to a call. The house was very dark when he got there, and he asked Kathleen, a 3-year-old girl, to hold a flashlight high over her mommy so he could see while he helped deliver the baby. Very diligently, Kathleen did as she was asked. Heidi pushed, and after a little while, Connor was born. The paramedic lifted him by his little feet and spanked him on the bottom, and Connor began to cry. The paramedic then thanked Kathleen for her help and asked the wide-eyed 3-year-old what she thought about what she had just witnessed. She quickly responded, "He deserved that spanking. He shouldn't have crawled up there in the first place." The wisdom of children and the wisdom of grandmothers.
Grandma, I can't believe you're 90 years old today.
Oh, hi, Leslie. Yes, I am. Thank you for the birthday gift. I loved it.
You're welcome. I hope you can use that heating pad.
Well, let's see. My health has really been good, and my home remedies have really helped me.
What are some of your home remedies, Grandma?
Well, for better digestion, I drink beer.
Really?
Yeah. And for low appetite, I drink white wine.
White wine?
And for low blood pressure, I drink red wine.
What do you do for high blood pressure, Grandma?
Well, that's something else. I drink scotch, and then I drink schnapps.
When do you drink water?
I've never been that sick.
So a buddy of mine, Kevin, was at the country club last week for his weekly round of golf, and he began his round with an eagle on the first hole, a birdie on the second hole, and on the third hole, he got his first ever hole-in-one. Just then his phone rang. It was the doctor notifying him his wife had been in an accident and was in critical condition and in ICU. The man told the doctor to inform his wife where he was and that he'd be there as soon as possible. As he hung up, he realized he was leaving what was shaping up to be the best round of golf ever. He decided to get in a couple more holes before heading to the hospital. He ended up playing all 18. Finished his round shooting a personal best 61, broke the club record by 5 strokes and 10 strokes better than he had ever played. He was jubilant. Then he remembered his wife. Feeling guilty, he dashed to the hospital. He saw the doctor in the corridor and asked about his wife's condition. The doctor glared at him and shouted, "You went ahead and finished your round of golf, didn't you? I hope you're proud of yourself. While you were out there playing for the past 4 hours, enjoying yourself at a country club, your wife has been languishing in the ICU. It's just as well you went ahead and finished the round because it'll likely be your last. For the rest of her life, she'll require round-the-clock care and you will be her caregiver. She'll need IVs every 3 hours. She'll have to be spoon-fed 3 times a day. And don't forget about hygiene care." The man broke down sobbing. The doctor chuckled and said, "I'm just messing with you. She's dead. What'd you shoot?" If you don't like them, my name's Randy, by the way. I didn't introduce myself. Now that you mention golf, getting out to golf.
Man, you can't believe what I had to do this weekend in order to go out next weekend. I had to promise my wife, I promised her I'd paint every room in the house in order to be able to golf.
Well, that's nothing. I had to promise my wife I'd build a whole new deck around the pool.
You guys had it easy. I can beat that. I have to remodel the whole kitchen, appliances and all.
Hey, Randy, you didn't say what you had to do to get out to play golf next weekend. What gives?
Well, Jeff, I used a different approach. Alarm goes off at 6:30. I wake up, tap my wife on the tush. Golf course or intercourse? She said, "Don't forget your sweater."
Well, Gordon went to his favorite bar, and he got there about 9:58. He walked in, sat down, ordered a beer, and just as he was getting his beer, the 10 o'clock news came on, and he noticed a blonde sitting down the bar from him. And the lead story was a man perched on top of a building threatening to jump. And he looked at her and he said, "I'll bet he jumps." She'll say, "I bet he didn't." So he lays down $20. And she says, "Okay." She lays down $20 on top of it, and they're watching the news. And just as she lays her money down, the man jumps from the building and ends his life. And she pushes the money toward him. He says, "No, no." He said, "I can't take that." He goes, "I got to be honest with you. I saw the 5 o'clock news, and the story was on the 5 o'clock news, and he jumped." And she said, "You can keep it." She says, "I saw it too, but I didn't think he'd do it again." So this story might not be about wisdom, but our next skit is Wisdom of Age.
Pick me up. Pick me up.
I did.
No one gets paid for this, by the way.
Yes, I'm talking to you. Pick me up and kiss me, and I'll turn you into the most beautiful woman you've ever seen. And I'll give you more pleasure than you've ever dreamed about. Are you what? Did you hear what I said? I said kiss me, and I will turn you into a gorgeous woman. And I will give you more pleasure than you've ever had before.
No, at my age, I'd rather have a talking frog.
So sad news. The woman's husband died. And all he had was $20,000 to his name. So after everything was done at the funeral in the cemetery, she told her closest friend she had no money left. And her friend said, "How can that be? You told me a few days ago you had $20,000 when he died. How could you be broke?" She said, "Well, the funeral cost $6,000. And then, of course, I had to make my donation to the church and the organist, and that was $400. And I spent $400 more on the wake, the food, and the drinks." And she said, and her friends, and then I had to buy a memorial stone. And her friend said, $13,200 for a memorial stone? She said, "How big is it?" And the widow said, "About 3 carats. What are we going to do with our lovely ladies? Well, here's a thought. The black bra.
You know, last week, girls, when we were having wine together, we were talking about our relationships with our men.
Yes, I remember, because each of us had a slightly different situation. I've been married to Bob for over 20 years. Oh, gosh. And Pam, you've been engaged to Frank now for 6 months. Mm-hmm. And tisk, tisk, Marie, you've been having an affair with your boss for 3 years.
Way to go, Marie.
I drink. Wow. And you had this crazy idea. What if we dressed up in just a black bra and stiletto heels and a mask and met our men at the door just to see what would happen?
Well, I thought it was a good idea. I mean, let's be honest. You, Pam, said that your engagement to Frank has, gotten a little stale.
Yeah.
And you and I, our relationships aren't much better. So anyway, did you try it, Pam?
Well, the other night when my fiance came home, he opened the door and there I was in my black leather bodice, stiletto heels, and that black mask. He said, "Oh, honey, I love you," and we had mad, passionate love all night long.
Ooh, nice. Well, that's fantastic. Well, when I met my man at the hotel that we almost always go to, I was just wearing a trench coat. And underneath my trench coat was my black bra, and I had on my stiletto heels and a black mask, and we got up to the room, and I opened the trench coat, and he didn't say a word, but he just trembled, and we made mad, passionate love sex all night long.
Yes, sir. So how about you, Kathy? How did your husband react when he saw you?
Well, had a little different reaction from good old Bob. When he came in the door and saw me there with my stiletto heels and my bra was not only black, it was sequined, and my mask, he shook his head a little bit and he says, "Well, what's for dinner, Batman?"
Well, now I know where my wife got the idea. She mentioned it to me and I said, "I'm not wearing a black mask, a black bra." All right. In our third act, I think we could use a little religion after that one. It's been kind of rough. We have a guest speaker who's going to come up and talk to you for a second here. So if you come forward, please, sir.
Well, that's a rough act to follow, eh? Okay, how many people in the audience know Ollie and Lena? Raise your hand. Okay, how about his buddy Sven? Okay. Okay, well, Ollie and Sven was laying on the beach there up in Lake Minnetonka, don't you know? And any day, Sven says to Ollie, he says, "Ollie, I think so maybe I go take a walk around and check out the girls there, And Sven says, "Yeah, okay, Sven, go ahead there." So he goes out for a while and he comes back and there was Sven says, "Ollie," he says, "I don't know what's going on." He says, "Those girls ain't paying no attention to me." Ollie says, "I'll tell you what you gotta do, Sven." He says, "You gotta take a big potato and you put it in your swimming suit there, don't you know?" And he says, "Then them girls will be paying attention to you. You betcha." So anyway, he goes out again looking around, and he comes back, "Ollie," he says, "I don't know, Ollie," he says, "it just ain't working." Ollie looks at Sven, he says, "Oof, the Sven," he says, "for the crying out loud, the potato goes in the front."